Welcome to Rocket Ship, the home of epic React Native content. I'm Simon Grimm, creator of Galaxies.dev, and today, as always, we have a lot to talk about from the React Native ecosystem. However, before we get into the news, I just want to quickly mention that I'm running an advent calendar during the time of 1st December until 25th of December 2025. So if you want to get some nice little tips, information around React Native packages, tools, services during that time, check it out, galaxies.dev/calendar/2025 as a number, and you're going to find it. You can also submit your email there, so we'll get the emails, the days by email. Today, when this episode goes live, it's already the second day, so 2 days should be unlocked. Go check it out. Now, in terms of our today's episode, we have, of course, some news from the React Native ecosystem. I also want to share some experience I had with Uniwind, as well as the progress of my Tiny Harvest game that I already mentioned in the last episode. And finally, I want to talk about something that I picked up on X that sounds really interesting for React Native's future. So, before we get to that, let's start with the basics and this week news. So make sure again to check out the React Native calendar on Galaxies and then their new packages. Let's start with React Native Gifted Chat. That one is actually one of my, I would say one of my favorite packages. I haven't started this, I'm so sorry, but I now have. React Native Gifted Chat basically helps you to integrate a full-blown chat into your application. And it is really easy when I used it in the past. However, it has gotten even easier with version 3.0, which is apparently a complete rewrite for rewritten in TypeScript for improved safety, better keyboard handling, and enhanced customization options. I looked through the changes. Of course, if you're already using this in your app, there are a couple of breaking changes, but that just happens with major versions. But if you're just new and now looking for a chat system, a chat UI for your app, React Native Gifted Chat is really the best thing you can use. It's now using React Native Reanimated 3 and 4. It's also using a dependency now to React Native Keyboard Controller. I looked through the different keyboard handling and the new stuff. It looks really great. Dark theme support, an example app, image viewing, accessibility, many bugs fixed, a super long list. I highly recommend this package to everyone, really. This is like one of the core packages you can use. Yes, I heard some people complain about like performance in the past, but I still think like this is the best thing you can get for out of the box chat UI in your app. Moving on, the user Chris on X posted that there's a new library called expo-targets. Inspired by Expo Modules API, Expo Apple Targets by Baconbricks and Expo Share extension, expo-target makes developing cross-platform native extensions for your app easy. Now, I'm sort of a bit curious because I know that point is in general hard to implement. And I also used Evan Bacon's Expo Apple Targets library in the past for widgets and I think also other stuff. I don't know exactly where Expo Targets now fits in, if this is just like a wrapper around many other libraries to combine this into like one place. You can currently get widget, clip, stickers, all of that stuff for iOS. Most of the stuff here for Android is still coming up, so only widget works for Android right now. The rest is sort of planned. Intents also config only. I'm curious what the future for this package is. I think it's a good idea. We will keep an eye on this, so go check it out. Expo Targets is the name. I'm gonna give this a star as well. Then we have a new minor release of React Navigation Native Stack. So version 7.8 is out. I'm always curious, before I get into the feature, if we can actually use that right away with Expo. And I think the answer is probably no, although Expo Router basically sits on top of React Navigation. I'm not sure if we can just like patch the React Navigation version and it sort of works with Expo Router and we just get some TypeScript issues. I don't know, maybe that is the case. Maybe one of you could leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. If it works like that or not, that would be really interesting. However, this version of React Navigation adds the page sheet presentation. And I was like, page sheet? Do we not already have that? No, we actually have form sheet. So form sheet gives us the bottom sheet, and now page sheet. Oh my, these names, it's so... Anyway, page sheet basically gives you on bigger screens like an iPad an actual big modal component. So if you're using a modal component on an iPad, it's actually a sort of a tiny overlay, and now the page sheet is a lot bigger. That brings it, I think, back. I think it was there, and then it was replaced by modal, and now it's back. So probably not too many changes for your phone applications. Anyway, another major new version. So this version, this library jumped from version 0.x something to version 10 because they changed their versioning system. I like that more. So React Native ActionSheets version 10 is out. This migrated to use React Reanimated, edge-to-edge handling, improv keyboard. Now, I feel like a couple of months ago we saw these great libraries. We saw Expo having edge-to-edge by default, better keyboard controlling, better lists. And now, like, gradually all the other libraries that have the peer dependencies to those libraries update and implement these libraries in their own libraries. It's cool. It's cool to, like, see this tickle in the whole React Native system. Anyway, React Native ActionSheets brings up this little action sheet from the bottom. And just like with Gorham bottom sheet, with True Sheet, like with all these sheets, I don't know in how far we still need them. The answer is probably we still need, but you can get very far with Expo Router and setting the presentation to form sheet. That will give you a bottom sheet. The action sheet might be slightly different. I honestly don't know. I don't see any examples here. It looks very much the same. Maybe it has better cross-platform support, but I would be curious if any one of you is using React Native ActionSheet and for why reason, if there are any reasons why you're using this over the Expo implementation. I think it's cool to have these smaller libraries, or actually they're quite big, just like Gorham bottom sheet is super big. It's cool to have them because they might dive a bit deeper into some functionalities of these core native components. But on the other hand, it's also cool to have it sort of out of the box with Expo Router available. So everyone who's getting started can quickly use these things. And if you later notice that a specific functionality here in Expo isn't really working like it should or is missing, then you can still drop down to a more specific library that gives you even more control over the component. So version 10 of React Native ActionSheet now available. Then William Candillon posted that React Native Skia 2.4 supports zIndex. About time, huh? Yeah, I would say that's about time, honestly, but I actually wasn't aware that they're not used in Skia. I'm not the heaviest user of Skia, but I absolutely love how every tweet that William makes about Skia or WebGPU just looks amazing and gets like 500 likes only because it's like... it just looks amazing. So if you're using React Native Skia, go update and you're going to benefit from that new prop. Then Tzvetan Mikov, creator of Static Hermes, tweeted big news for JSON parsing. The team worked on something and they actually improved it to be 2.7 to 3.4% x, not percent, faster. So 3 times faster JSON parsing in Hermes, I think Static Hermes and 1.0. The naming here is still a bit confusing. He's also saying coming up next JSON stringify, and I think this is absolutely great because in my application, I think pretty much every application uses sort of JSON parse or stringify at some point. Some content-heavy application use it even more. And if your application is doing this, benefiting in 2 to 3x, making that faster, that could potentially mean a lot of milliseconds shaved off of the loading time of some of your application's pages. So really, absolutely big news. Everything Tzvetan posts is big news, and I'm absolutely looking forward to see this land in React Native. Then, a couple more news. Introducing Expo Brownfield Target, a new library from Software Mention. Actually, it's just a config plugin, but it helps you to use your Expo application inside a different native or iOS Android app. The whole topic of brownfield apps gets more love over the last like 1-2 years. Software Mention and CallStack doing great things for this. And this is another step in that direction, making brownfield easier. And it reminds me that I should definitely have a brownfield course or tutorial or anything like that up in the near future. Let's do this in 2026. But this one, pretty nice. Setting up brownfield project with CNG can be complex and repetitive. Expo Brownfield Target automates the setup, gives you configurable file templates, and ships with the CLI to simplify brownfield builds. I think everything that makes brownfield easier is a big win for the community. A big one for the community is also Nishan Bende. I think he recently, a couple of weeks, joined Expo as far as I know. Let's check it out. Is he working? Yeah, he's working at Expo by now. And he made a PR to bring CSS Grid to React Native. So for years, we've used Flexbox. We neatly align everything in a row and in columns, and we have the gap, which is pretty cool now. But a CSS Grid, a two-dimensional layout system, would be quite cool as well, because on the web everyone has access to it as well. And I'm pretty sure that many web developers coming to React Native are like, where's my CSS Grid? So the draft is there, the PR is there. It's not yet landed in React Native as far as I see, or has it? Feature support? Yeah, it's still open. But it got so much love and attention. This has just been 2 weeks ago. I think very, very soon, maybe, I don't know if it's going to happen this year, probably not, but in 2026 we'll definitely have CSS Grid support in React Native. Then 3 little news to wrap it up. Software Mention actually has now a free plan for the Radon, I don't know if they call it an IDE. It's probably more like a VS Code and Cursor extension. Yeah, the VS Code and Cursor extension that turns your editor into a complete IDE. Well, then it sort of still is an IDE. I don't know. Radon is pretty cool. I checked it out in the early days. Then when it was up completely paid, I was kind of like, yeah, it's cool, but I don't want to promote it too heavily. Now that it comes with a free plan for you to check out for non-commercial use, that's super cool. And I would recommend everyone to check it out because it has some pretty cool features. I think it got just so much better, but you have the integrated experience of having your editor in your VS Code or Cursor or whatever you're using. You can navigate directly to a URL. You can click on like an element, just like on the web, and debug and see which component this is. You can have components in isolation. It's honestly a great tool and reminds me that I should definitely try this out again. This is amazing. Thank you, Software Mention, for making a free plan for Radon. Then something I caught that I don't know if I mentioned this in the last episode, but Apple announced a Mini Apps Partner Program. Since 2017, the App Store has supported mini apps and games, self-contained experiences built with web technologies offered within a native host app. The Mini Apps program provides an improved customer experience for mini app users while helping developers who host mini apps and games grow their business on the App Store. Now, what does it actually mean? I don't know. It sounds a bit vague to me because what exactly is a mini app? Is this our React Native app which uses HTML, or is this more like an Ionic application with capacitor where you really just have HTML inside, like the Cordova capacitor stuff from the past? What is improving here because it was already possible in the past? I don't know. It's a bit vague. As I said, you can join the program. If you fall into that category, maybe check it out. What's a qualifying mini app? Qualifying mini is one that puts out by a person or entity that's not directly or indirectly controlled by you nor under... Yeah, I don't know, but any in-app purchase. But anyway, I really like, first of all, the name Mini Apps, and I like that Apple makes this official. I think this is geared a bit towards vibe coders and like bringing their apps quickly into the App Store. And maybe this is also following the trend in the future that everyone's creating like your own little application and you just want to get it into the store. But again, that's probably vibe coders, so I don't know in how far we React Native developers benefit from it, but I want to mention it. The Mini Apps Partner Program is now a thing. And wrapping it up with a massive post that I can't summarize here on video or audio. because this is something every React Native developer needs to read. So if you have a list of books to read over the holiday time, then you should add this blog post to that list as well. It's probably not as long as a book, although it's more to read than most people probably do on a daily basis. It's by Fernando Rojo, head of mobile at Vercel by now, How We Built the V0 iOS app. And this one is not just an, oh, we're so cool, we built the greatest app on earth, and here are the stats. This is actually diving specifically into the challenges that they encountered when building this application. And Fernando shares countless code examples, some visual examples here, how to make lists better, inputs, handling keyboards, like all the things that are absolutely painful in React Native and most people get wrong. In this post are probably the answer to 80% of the questions you previously had about using keyboards in your app, using lists, improving performance, and whatnot. So all the links to the mentioned articles are below. Of course, this one as well, How We Built the V0 iOS app. Add it to your reading list. I already have it and I still need to finish it because, well, it's a 60-minute read, but you really need to be concentrated. So it's probably taking you longer than 60 minutes. But it honestly is a great treasure. So thank you, Fernando, for doing this. And that wraps up, on a positive note, the latest releases from the React Native ecosystem. Let's quickly talk about some personal updates and opinions that I had over the last week. Last week, Wednesday, I think, I had a live stream about Uniwind. I actually never used Uniwind before. I looked a bit at the documentation and then we just went into it in a live stream. And honestly, I was overwhelmed by how good Uniwind is. I wasn't expecting this, to be honest. I thought it's maybe good, but people are absolutely what they say on X or social is absolutely true. The quick start, the setup is really fast. I was a bit an idiot when I set this up initially, but most of the time it just worked great in my testing. In the live stream, we went into all the key features. We looked at the API, like there are hooks about use native wind with native wind. You can use CSS variables. We really made a nice little example about theme switching, CSS variables, and all of that. And it just works. And it works unbelievable fast, even in the free version. So I was blown away by how good this is. And I can absolutely recommend this now to everyone. I think this will make it to the top list of my React Native 2026 stack. And I will probably use it in future videos as well. Because really, it just works so nicely for Tailwind. It answers like all the questions. Whenever you're like, can I do this? The answer is probably yes. Yes, there is a pro mode. We have to probably talk about that at one point, but I absolutely understand why it's there, and we talked about this on the stream as well. So go check that out. I have you can find it in YouTube. There's still the live stream tab, and you will find Uniwind fastest Tailwind for React Native ? That is the live stream from last week. Also, of course, linked below the video here or in the show notes. I also released a video finally about the mobile game that I've been working on. So in the last podcast, I told you that I was completely absorbed by an idea. And at that point, I thought, oh, it's done. It's sort of done. It had all the features. But honestly, over the last 2 weeks, I've been still debugging. I've also been playing it heavily. That's the problem. So every day when I play it, I encounter something new. I climb the levels and I encounter a new bug or a new thing I would like to fix. And I finally made a little video about how I built this mobile farming game. You can check it out on YouTube. It's a quick video, just 12, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, where I discuss like my process of working with AI, because I found this to be really, really interesting in this one. Maybe I can give you the quick version. So what I did in that is I essentially use ChatGPT for all like the business and planning aspect of that game. And then I go into Cursor and develop the actual game. How does it then work? Well, Cursor or ChatGPT gives me, let's say I want to implement a feature. Let's say a boat comes every 4 hours and you have to fill crates. I will outline that feature with ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT to give me a specification, a requirement document, I put that into a markdown file in my application and tell Cursor, hey, please implement this new feature following this document. If you have any questions, please let me know them up front. Sometimes there are questions, most of the time not. And it honestly mostly one-shots these features. So if you develop exactly by feature or by screen, this works really, really great with the new Composer models of Cursor or any of the latest models, honestly. Then for other screens, I sometimes take a screenshot, take it back to ChatGPT, say, hey, this isn't looking great. ChatGPT gives some recommendations. I put that back into Cursor. Cursor updates the screen and everyone's happy. So essentially that's been my workflow over the last, 2 or 3 weeks at this point. I'm just going back and forth between ChatGPT and Cursor. Same for bugs. Most of the time I just write out the bug in Cursor and tell, hey, please fix this or check this. But in that video, I also outlined that there are certain limitations and sometimes AI just won't do the thing that you can do and you gotta do it manually. So that's been my last 2 weeks. The game is now sort of released. On Android, it's actually completely released. On iOS, we still have a test flight beta, but I'm optimistic that now after Thanksgiving is over, Apple might finally take some time to review my app and then release it. And then you're gonna find it on tinyharvest.app. The page is already up for iOS. I think it points currently still to test flight. Oh, interesting. It shouldn't actually do this. I will update this once the final version is out. You can play it. I hope you can migrate easily from the test flight version to the finished version. There are a couple of changes I still made and probably still find on a day basis, but I will now try to call it not a day. I will call it a month on this app now and just see how it works. Hope gonna people play it over the holiday time. I absolutely love the game. There are more than 70 players in the leaderboard right now. So if you want to check it out, tinyharvest.app. Support me, support the game. Final release is near. Finally, there is something I want to talk about from the community that I picked up that got too much attention, but I think it's still worth to point it out. So Nate Bertman, the creator of Tamagui and One.js, posted, Rails for Universal React Native has been achieved internally, excited to show you all in December. That post itself didn't get much traction, just 100 likes and 12 comments, but this is honestly something I'm super excited about for a couple of reasons. First of all, Nate is an unbelievable genius. What he has done with Tamagui and with One, I think didn't gets enough attention and love because Tamagui is really amazing in what it does and how it works internally. He's sometimes a bit, I think we talked about this before, that he had a little clash with Evan Bacon about Expo Router and forking and stuff like that, and about other styling libraries, but under the hood, Nate is still brilliant. However, I think maybe if he would work for, I don't know if he's still working for Vercel, I think he's working for himself by now, but maybe if he would work for a bigger company that would feature his projects, they would get more attention, because honestly, they have been pretty wild. Now, if he posts about Rails, I'm always curious, because I know Rails is like batteries included stuff, and I always thought like it would be cool to have something like that for React Native. I don't know how it would exactly look like, but that's where a genius like Nate comes into play. He can envision it and maybe even develop it. On top of that, I recently was guest on the React Native radio podcast. That episode should actually be released in about 1 or 2 weeks. Go check that out. And I talked to Jamin. Jamin, host of that podcast or co-host, was recently on Hawaii, so it's gonna be a long story. And he apparently met Nate, and Nate showed him some stuff. And Jamin was also super excited about that stuff. Now, 1 + 1 is 2. Nate, Jamin, Rails, Jamin seeing this, finding it amazing, the announcement. I don't know what's coming up, but I'm genuinely curious to see what Nate is going to release in December. Is it gonna make big waves? I don't know. Probably not, because he's just underrepresented, I think, to some degree. But maybe this is a big thing and everyone jumps into it. Sometimes it happens. I will absolutely do it. I will check it out, whatever it is. I like Tamagui. I checked out One.js when it came out as well. I think it's a bit stuck right now. I don't know if they're still working on it. But Rails for Universal React, Nate, I'm looking forward to this, and we will all see what comes out in December. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Quite a few updates, big new versions. My application will hopefully be available soon, tinyharvest.app, as well as the advent calendar on galaxies.dev/calendar/2025. And I will catch you, as always, in the next episode. And until then, happy coding, Simon. Thanks for joining today's episode. My goal is to share interesting stories and insights into the world of React Native development. If you enjoy this show, please subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify. And on Spotify and Apple, you can leave up to a 5-star review. Because podcasts, and especially niche podcasts like this, are hard to find, subscribing and leaving a review does help me a lot. On top of that, check out my React Native courses on galaxies.dev that cover a variety of topics from getting started to building and publishing your mobile app. Finally, you can share today's episode with a friend or colleague who would enjoy the topic of the show. If you have any questions or ideas for future episodes, find me on X or leave a comment on YouTube. And last but not least, thank you for listening and happy coding, Simon.